February 14th, 2026, a day the world calls a day of love. But on the dusty roads to Titao, near the border of Burkina Faso and Ghana, the earth was stained with something else. 8 Ghanaian traders, 8 souls, people who didn't carry guns, who didn't care about geopolitics. They were simply going to buy tomatoes. They were the lifeblood of our local markets. But they never made it home. They were intercepted by an armed group, pulled from their vehicles and executed. This is Power and Pulse, where power is questioned and the pulse of Africa is never ignored. To our loyal subscribers, the ones who refuse to let these stories die in the dark, thank you for your strength. And to those joining us for the first time, welcome to the front lines of truth. You've arrived at the moment of absolute clarity, because today we aren't just reporting a tragedy. We are exposing a betrayal. While the families of these traders are still mourning, a political storm is brewing in Accra. A former defense minister, Dominique Nitiwu, has stepped into the light not to offer solutions, not to call for regional unity, but to point a shaking, accusing finger directly at Captain Ibrahim Traoré and the Burkinabè government. He's asking, why now? Why are Ghanaians being targeted now? When for years they moved freely? He's suggesting that the attackers knew they were Ghanaian. He's suggesting it was deliberate. But tonight, we have to ask the questions the politicians are too scared to touch. Is this a legitimate security concern? Or is this the voice of the colonizer speaking through an African tongue? Why is a tragedy being used to divide two brothers, Ghana and Burkina Faso, just when the youths are finally starting to unite? Tonight, we unpack the Titao incident, the history of the Rawlings-Sankara Bridge, and the dangerous game being played by leaders who would rather protect a colonial border than an African life. Stay with me until the very end, because what we are about to reveal isn't just news. It's a warning for the future of our continent. Let's look at the Nitiwu Doctrine. The former minister is baffled. He points out that between 2018 and 2021, when terrorism in Burkina Faso was at its absolute peak, Ghanaian traders were never touched. They spoke English, they drove Ghanaian registered cars, and they were safe. So he asks, why has the wind changed? He goes further. He criticizes the current administration for creating enemies. He mocks that the fact that Captain Ibrahim Traoré was cheered during his visit to Ghana. He asks, and I quote, why did we invite him? What was the use? Why were we cheering a man under sanctions? Isn't it fascinating? A former defense minister is more concerned about sanctions imposed by foreign powers than he is about the man actually fighting the terrorism on our doorstep. He speaks as if Captain Traoré, a man who has put his life on the line to reclaim the Sahel from extremists, is the threat, rather than the groups pulling the triggers. But here is the historical amnesia that Nitiwu wants you to have. He claims they didn't create enemies during his time. But what did they actually do? They managed the status quo. They watched as the fire in the Sahel grew, hoping the smoke wouldn't blow towards Accra. But the smoke is here, and pointing fingers at the man trying to put out the fire is not leadership, it's sabotage. To understand why the Titao incident hurt so much, we have to look back. We have to look at the time when borders were just lines on a map, not scars on our hearts. Think back to the 1980s. Jerry John Rawlings in Ghana, Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, two giants. Two brothers. When Rawlings looked north, he didn't see a foreign country. called Burkina Faso. He saw his own people. Rawlings used to say, if something is happening to the Mosi, it is happening to us. If they are on fire, we will be hungry. They understood a fundamental truth that the politicians of today have forgotten. There is no Ghanaian hunger and Burkinabè hunger. There is only African hunger. Back then, the border wasn't a wall. It was a bridge. They worked together. They fought the same enemies. They shared the same dream of total liberation. But today, we have leaders who speak the tongue of division. They see the Mosi and the Ghanaians as different brands of people. They act like the colonizers' ink. The ink that drew these borders in 1884 is more sacred than the blood that flows in our veins. Julius Maada Bio, the chairperson of ECOWAS, said it best. You are protecting borders instead of protecting the people. That is the tragedy of Titao. The terrorists didn't kill Ghanaians, they killed Africans. And the moment we allow politicians to tell us it was because they were Ghanaian, we are letting the colonizer win all over again. Let's talk about why they hate Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The politicians hate him because he is doing what they failed to do for 40 years. He is refusing to play the game. He is building a nation on the principles of self-reliance, not foreign aid. When the youth in Accra cheered for Traoré, they weren't cheering for a military leader. They were cheering for the idea that an African can stand up and say no to the masters. The politicians ask, what was the use of cheering him? I'll tell you the use. It was a signal. It was the youth of Ghana telling the youth of Burkina Faso, we see you. We are one. The current political class is terrified of that unity because if the Ghanaians and the Burkinabè realize they are one people, the politicians can no longer use security threats and border issues to distract us from their own failures. I want to hear from you right now. Do you think these attacks are meant to spark a war between Ghana and Burkina Faso? Are we being played? Drop unity in the comments if you refuse to let them divide us. We need to talk about the armed groups. These groups, whether they call themselves rebels, terrorists, or insurgents, they don't have a nationality. They don't serve the interests of Burkina Faso or Ghana. They serve the interests of chaos. And often, that chaos serves those who want to keep Africa's resources accessible to the highest foreign bidder. When Nitiwu asks why they attack Ghanaians now, he is implying that the Burkinabè government has control over these groups. This is a dangerous lie. Captain Traoré is in the trenches fighting these people every single day. To suggest he would orchestrate an attack on Ghanaian traders, the very people feeding his region, is not just illogical, it's an insult to every soldier who has died in the Sahel. The truth is, these groups attack whoever they can to create exactly what we are seeing now. Division. They want Ghana to close the border. They want an Accra to turn against Ouagadougou. They want the bridge that Rawlings-Sankara built to be demolished. If we fall for this, we are doing the terrorist work for them. Ladies and gentlemen, we can listen to the politicians who want us to point fingers. Or we can live in the circles of the oppressor, pretending that a passport makes us different from our brothers across the line. We can allow the Titao incident to be the excuse for a new era of hostility. Or we can choose the path of the youth. We can say a Ghanaian life is a Burkinabè life. We can refuse to sing the songs of the colonizer that are being hummed into our ears by people in suits. We are one people. Nigerian, Malian, Ghanaian, Togolese. The labels are their inventions. The pulse is ours. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is a hero to many because he represents the refusal to be a puppet. And if the politicians in Accra or anywhere else want to solve the problem of terrorism, they should stop pointing fingers at their neighbors and start extending their hands in support. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. If you believe in a united Africa, if you refuse to let the blood of our traders be used for political gains, then I need you to act. Like this video to fight the silence. Share this with one person who still thinks these borders are real. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Power and Pulse. We are building the bridge that they are trying to burn. Forget what politicians tell you. Love your neighbor. Protect your brother. This is Power and Pulse. Stay watchful, stay sovereign, and I'll see you in the next one.